Welcome again, everyone, as we celebrate the 6th Sunday in Ordinary Time. The readings today really are stressing the idea of leprosy. And remember I said that these stories are not to be taken literally. When you're doing something with a spiritual text, you got to look behind what the text says to the spiritual meaning. So the idea of leprosy in a spiritual framework would mean some kind of spiritual defect. Now, we all have those. And our job is to work on those as we go through our lives. So if you can identify yourself with these kinds of blemishes on your spiritual, the spiritual side of you, like anger and resentment and judgment and being rude and lying. Yeah, every one of those is a blemish on your spiritual soul, and it gets externalized. And as I was preparing for this, I couldn't help think of Pinocchio. Every time he told a lie, his nose got bigger. Well, that happens in our lives too. My dad had a self-made band. They were all excellent musicians. And he had a bass player who was the biggest liar in the world. And of course, everybody knew it. I remember my dad coming back from a gig one night, and my mother asked him, well, how was it? And my dad said, well, we got, at the break, we were talking about our tomato plants in our gardens. And Joe, the bass player, said, my tomatoes are the biggest and the best in the whole city. They're so big you have to call them tomatoes, not tomatoes. And of course, we all laughed. And it wasn't that we were making any fun of Joe, but that's the way he was, and everybody knew it. And, I think it's really important that you understand that when you have a blemish like this, where do you go? Well, the scripture says that they went to Jesus, because Jesus was the dispenser of this spiritual energy that is healing. And I have an aunt of mine who is still alive, and she's 100 years old. And she had a very, very challenging life. But she was one of the most positive people in the world. If you, even today, if you call her on her cell phone and she's not available, the message on her phone says, if you want money, forget it. If you want to leave a message, here's the beep. I mean, she was just an absolutely wonderful person. The last time I went to visit her, she has a little apartment, and she always leaves the door open, and everybody wants to come to visit with her because she just exudes love. And that's what this gospel is all about. Now, St. Paul in the second reading went through all of that. And he was able to dig into that spiritual power that is within him. And he became a wonderful model. So in the reading, it says, follow my example. And that's what we are supposed to do. Now, we're going to be beginning Lent this week. And in my estimation, Lent is about taking one of these blemishes that we have in our spirit and turning it into wholeness. Okay? Taking one weakness and turning it into a strength. And for example, you know, if you have a difficult relationship, either with a family member or somebody that you're working at or a neighbor or something, and you want to be able to fix that. Well, the whole purpose of Lent is to figure out a practice that can help you to change that weakness into a strength. So suppose, for example, that you would put this person's name down on a piece of paper and say to yourself, every day during Lent, I'm going to write something good about this person. Well, you know, if you do that for 40 days, by the time you get to Easter, you'll have a habit of looking for the good in that person, and you'll find you'll be starting to see the good in everybody. So that by the time you get finished with Lent, you'll have a good habit that will work for you for the rest of your life. And where does the healing come from? From the divine within you. That's what this message is all about. And so my suggestion is that if you take some time out after you listen to this homily, see what you can do about picking up just one weakness that you have, and promise yourself that you're going to work on that and make it a strength during Lent. I can promise you that if you do this just once, you will find out how easy it is to start taking one blemish at a time and turning it into wholeness. Now remember always that the healing power that came from Jesus is the same healing power that you have within you. You are all powerful spiritual beings. So dig into that divine energy and give it direction so that by the time we get to Easter, you will be like St. Paul, shining a little bit more with the divine presence. God bless you all.